This week's video is a little different. We're talking about Joan of Arc. Hi, my name is Gail Neal and this is Jesus Stories, where we find out about Christian history and about heroes of the faith. 5 things you didn't know about Joan of Arc. First, Joan was not from a place called Arc. The of Arc part of her name was actually the English version of her father's last name, d'Arc. D'Arc, of Arc. Technically, of Arc was actually Joan's last name. Joan was actually born in a little town south of Paris called Doremy. And yes, I'm sorry about my French. In Joan's honor, the little town is now called Doremy la Pesada, or Doremy of the Maiden, in Joan's honor. 2. Joan is known as a fearless warrior. She was the heroine of the 100-Year War between France and England. Truth is, Joan never fought in battle. She did outline military strategies and she did direct troops, but Joan never fought. While she never had a weapon, during battle, Joan inspired her men to fight by brandishing her banner for all to see. She was wounded twice by some very skilled archers, which I imagine could happen if you're sitting out in the open where everyone can see you, but she was always some distance from the actual fighting. Number 3, Joan is known for her great faith. By age 13, she was seeing visions of St. Margaret, St. Catherine, and St. Michael, who instructed her to deliver France from the invading English army and to establish Charles VII as the rightful king of France. Problem is, the accounts of Joan's visions come from trial transcripts where Joan refused to answer questions about the visions. She had sworn an oath to Charles to keep their meetings confidential. When she was captured and tried by the English, Joan remained true to that oath. The trial was politically motivated, and it was designed to embarrass Charles. So we really don't know how much of the surviving record about Joan's visions were fabrications by corrupt court officials, or possibly even fabrications by Joan herself in order to protect Charles. 4. Contrary to popular belief, Joan was not burned at the stake for witchcraft. Joan's trial started with 70 charges, but was whittled down to just 12. Most of those 12 were related to wearing men's clothing and claiming that God had spoken directly to her. Joan wore soldier's clothing that made her less vulnerable to attack by enemies or by prison guards. Everything from the top jacket down to the boots were fastened together, making it very difficult to pull up. But because they were men's things, it was considered cross-dressing and heretical. The trial ended with Joan signing a confession that earned her life in prison rather than death. As part of the confession, Joan promised there would be no more men's clothing and no more talks of visions from God. However, it's likely that Joan, like most people in that time, was illiterate. She never actually signed her name on the confession, she just made the sign of the cross. It's likely that Joan never even knew what she actually signed. After just days of dealing with the prison guards, Joan was back in her soldier's attire, buckled from head to toe, and she told the visiting judges that the visions had returned. Having renounced her confession, Joan was convicted as a relapsed heretic and sent to the stake. Joan was executed by burning on May 30th, 1431. She was 19 years old. On the day of her execution, Joan asked 2 priests to hold a crucifix in front of her. An English soldier also made her a little cross that she put on the front of her dress. After it was over, Joan's executioner said that he greatly feared being condemned because he had burned a holy woman. Following the execution, Joan's body was burned twice more and the ashes thrown in the Seine River. This was meant to prevent the worship of any relics. They wanted Joan to be forgotten. But apparently it didn't work. You're actually watching a YouTube video about Joan 600 years later. And while we're on the subject, Execution by burning was a cruel, inhumane, and in that day common form of execution. Execution by burning was not usually used to punish violent criminals. No, people like that were usually commoners, so hanging was good enough for them. Execution by burning was a very public spectacle, and it was used to punish enemies of the state. Number 5. Apparently, Joan's brothers were not as God-fearing as she was. For 6 years after Joan's death, her brothers passed off impostors as their sister, claiming that she had escaped execution. One of the impostors was Claude Desonoise. Claude looked enough like Joan that she participated in military campaigns dressed in soldiers' clothing like Joan. She and the brothers pretended that Joan had escaped her captors and had married a knight while on the run. From 1434 to 1440, the three of them were showered with lavish gifts, traveling from one reception to another. Claude eventually came face to face with King Charles, one of the few people who actually met the real Joan, and the charade was over. Thanks for watching Jesus Stories. This channel is all about Christian history and about heroes of the faith, because so much of who we are is because of who they were. Please like and share this video. That is a tremendous help to the channel. And please do let me know in the comments about what topics you'd like me to talk about. Thanks again for watching. See you next time. Bye-bye.